Tourism has transformed many cities for centuries, and an example of one of these cities is Valparaiso, a seaside city located about 120 kilometers from Chile's capital, Santiago. It was founded in 1536 by conquistador Diego de Almagro, one of Francisco Pizarro's captains. With the invention of steamships in the early 19th century, Valparaiso began its rise to prosperity. It was a main port for all the ships that traversed the dangerous Straits of Magellan, and it was a faster and cheaper route to Europe than crossing overland in Panama. In 1818, when Chile got its independence, Valparaiso became a main base of the Chilean Navy. But the 19th century was thus the heyday of Valparaiso, the economic capital of Chile. But the city's prosperity came to a halt in 1914 with the opening of the Panama Canal. Shipping revenue was drastically reduced and Valparaiso went into decline. In the 90s, the city accounted among the worst socioeconomic indicators of Chile and was regarded as a place of degradation and insecurity.
Thus, this political discourse urged to establish strategies for local economic development and to change the city's image. Since the early 2000s, the city has experienced a recovery. Artists, tourists, and cultural entrepreneurs worldwide have been attracted by the so-called Jewel of the Pacific, which is the nickname of Valparaiso. In 2024, the city is home to 320,816 residents, while the Valparaiso metro area population is almost at 1 million. Three urban areas are clearly identifiable. Number one, the littoral, which is where most port activity takes place. Number two, the plan, which is where most public services are located. And number three, the 44 hills, or cerros in Spanish, where the majority of the population lives. In this video, through the case study of Valparaiso, we will demonstrate how tourism has the power to bring about positive evolution within the city, as well as multi-scale issues. We will explore the strong relationship between tourism and the cultural identity of a city, the redefinition of urban landscapes, as well as economic, geographical, and political implications of tourism of Valparaiso. Tourism has definitely had a significant positive economical impact on Valparaiso. International tourists have contributed to the city's economic growth. They spend money primarily on accommodation, transportation, and on food. Moreover, international cruise lines regularly use the port in Valparaiso, providing a constant flow of tourists. Approximately 50 international cruise ships arrived during the summer, and in the 2023 to 2024 season, the port welcomed over 54,000 passengers. With the arrival of tourists, the demand for infrastructure increased. New restaurants, bars, and hotels were built, and other services such as transportation improved. Moreover, both public and private investments grew, and in effect, the city's port was expanded. Many of the traditional hillside dwellings were being refurbished and historical buildings restored. Tourism positively influenced the job market as many people found employment, either building new hotels, restaurants, and retail centers or working in them. Summing up, tourism has boosted Valparaiso's economy through infrastructure, employment creation, and increasing profits. As tourism has grown in regards to Valparaiso's economy, it also affected local governance and policymaking. First off, local leaders gave tourism priority in their agendas. They recognized tourism as a major driver for economic development, and in effect, the city has initiated tourism-driven initiatives. Tourism affected urban planning. The city's historic neighborhoods, like the port and hill areas, have become tourist hotspots for tourists, which has led to the revitalization of these regions. However, concerns about displacement, affordable housing for the local population have to be addressed, as in the last decade, property prices have risen. Moreover, Valparaiso's leaders have made marketing efforts to present the city as a perfect site for various events. For example, film festivals such as FIC TV. In conclusion, as tourism has become a main economic driver, it has shaped political priorities, affected urban development strategies, and intensified marketing efforts. Social and environmental issues are addressed by local politicians.
The relationship between a place and its people holds an extremely important role in the success of a country, as well as the happiness of the people within it, locals and tourists alike. Throughout our course, we've discussed some of these key relationships between the land, architecture, infrastructure, and the people. closeness to the water being an extremely important aspect of many flourishing cities. One of the most key examples being that of the Malecon in Havana, and its major impact that it has on the city, both as the center of the city's culture, but also invoking thought for its visitors. For this reason, along with the beauty of the ocean, especially in places that will remain warm and sunny in the cold winters in countries such as Canada and the US, tourists flock to these oceanside Latin American cities for their winter escape. Valparaiso, Chile, is no exception with its beautiful, colorful buildings, stark contrast of the Pacific beaches and the sloped mountains. It's clear that Valparaiso should also be a tourist dream. Due to its location along the Strait of Magellan, seen here, Valparaiso was a prime location for water traffic until the Panama Canal was opened in 1914. This closeness to the ocean also allows cities to thrive and grow at rates that inland cities just can't keep up with. Firstly, the import and export of goods, especially at times before the mass usage of planes for cross-continental trade, and even still today, as can be seen in the image, is so efficiently done via sea transport. This not only allowed for economic growth within the city, but improved inter-country relations. According to the Britannica, Valparaiso was able to produce chemicals, textile, sugar, plants, clothing, leather goods, and vegetable oils, and contribute to the overall Chilean exportation. Aside from this, Valparaiso was also able to accept thousands of immigrants, primarily from Britain and Germany, during the late 1800s to early 1900s. To this day, approximately 50 international cruise ships visit Valparaiso every Chilean summer. Unfortunately, over the years, Valparaiso has fallen victim to the effects of climate change, specifically in the form of water scarcity through temperature increase and precipitation decrease. This transformation from lush greenery to semi-dry and arid area not only affects the people of Valparaiso in the sense of water availability, but the tourism industry in the city as a whole, as the physical impacts of such a long drought can have on the beauty of a place as well as just the overall health. Thankfully, in 2015, plans were developed to better treat the limited available water, though the city still suffers greatly from this water shortage through fires and droughts. Efforts like this had not always been put on the success of Valparaiso, especially in the sense of maintaining transportation within the city. During its golden age, many elevators, more known as cable cars, allowed locals and tourists alike to more easily access the hilly roads of Valparaiso, though most have since fallen into disrepair. This one, however, is still clearly well maintained and running. Many of the buildings within and outside the city can be slowly seen decaying without proper maintenance and rebuilding the plans, similar to that of Havana. Many colonial-style buildings have been able to survive centuries' worth of storms, pirate raids, fires, and earthquakes over the last 120 years that have done numbers on Valparaiso. However, the bold colors, vibrant culture of the city still draw in tourists, despite the more standstills of modern environment and increasing disrepair.
In order to make Valparaiso dynamic again, the municipal development plan in the 90s promoted the cultural tourism. The World Heritage status of Valparaiso, certificated by the UNESCO in 2003, acknowledges its unique urban form, its historical background as a colorful port city, and its cultural diversity. This certification has accelerated the development of a cultural tourism, firstly in the Cerros Concepcion and Cerros Alegre, which form the central historic areas. Tourists are now abundant to visit the narrow, colorful streets of the old mansions, but also the old urban elevators, which form a landscape evoking the heyday of the 19th century Valparaiso. The touristic area then spread out from the UNESCO center to the surrounding hills, focused on artistic and cultural values. This is the case, for example, for Pablo Neruda's home, La Sebastiana. Cultural tourism in Valparaiso also relies on the murals spread across the city. Pablo Neruda brought street art in Valparaiso after his experience of Mexican muralists. Then, under Pinochet dictatorship, two collectives of artists formed to express their desire for freedom, and their work can be seen in the Museo a Cielo Abierto. Here is a piece you can see. Today, mural topics are lighter because they are often commissioned by the municipality or by a shopkeeper to attract tourists. In Valparaiso, present-day graffiti is less politically engaged and is not realized to legitimize the government, as it was the case in Mexico City in the 20s. They give life to decrepit neighborhoods. Here is a mural created by Un Color Distinto. It's a project named Strange Creatures. However, cultural tourism brings a lot of issues. The UNESCO inscription favors a certain historic era and building from the European immigration of the 19th century. to the detriment of another identity, such as the industrialized Valparaiso and its economic struggle. So the restoration is focused on European origin, and the 19th century period is romanticized. As a result, the city pretends to present an authentic Valparaiso, whereas it's a construction supposed to attract tourists. It's a clear reinvention of the cultural identity of the city and its inhabitants. The porteños are dispossessed from the city by tourism because Valparaiso becomes a theater detached from their history and their daily practices.